AITA for charging my wife rent after she called me just a roommate. Well, I am 30 years old, and I really need to get this off my chest because everything has gone completely sideways with my wife Nicole, who is 28. We have been married for 3 years, together for almost 6. When we met, it was at a bar through mutual friends. She was not a magazine model, but she was pretty with a kind of confidence that immediately attracted me. We hit it off, exchanged numbers, and started dating a few weeks later. The first few years were honestly great. We did all those couple things, weekend trips, meeting the families. Her parents were a bit distant, but whatever. We moved in together after 1 year. I proposed to her on our 2nd anniversary, and we got married 8 months later. Nothing too extravagant, just family and a few close friends. I had bought a house 6 months before the wedding. Everything is in my name since I paid the down payment with the money I had saved up working like crazy. So the first year of marriage, everything went well. We would come home from work, make dinner together, watch shows, the normal routine. We talked about maybe having kids in a few years, but looking back, I see that things started to change around the 2nd year of marriage. Nicole was getting more and more invested in her career. She works in marketing, started staying late at the office, going to networking events, and gradually spending less and less time at home. I supported her. I told myself it was good for her career. I took on more household chores so she could focus on her job, and I started paying most of the bills too since she said she wanted to build a career before thinking about money. It was little things at first. She would cancel our date nights at the last minute because of work. She was constantly on her phone, even when we were supposed to be spending time together. When I brought it up, she would get defensive and say I was not supporting her career. So I let it go. We stopped doing things together on the weekends. She was either too tired from work, or she suddenly had brunches and shopping trips with her friends that I was never invited to. I felt like we were living in the same space without really connecting. Anyway, a few months ago, she told me that her friend group was organizing a dinner at a new downtown restaurant, and she wanted me to come. I was honestly surprised she invited me. It had been months since she included me in anything with her friends. I was not super thrilled. Her friends are mostly PR marketing types who only talk about work drama and gossip about people I do not know. But I figured it was maybe an effort on her part to include me. So we went. There were 8 of us in total, Nicole, me, and 6 of her friends. The restaurant was packed and loud, and we ended up at a long table. I was sitting 3 seats down from Nicole, stuck between her friend Courtney, who was talking to someone else, and a guy I did not know, glued to his phone. I was sipping my drink, not part of any conversation. Nobody was talking to me. Nobody paid attention to me. Pretty normal in this kind of situation. Honestly, I am used to being the invisible husband. I was kind of in my own bubble, thinking about a work project. When I hear Nicole's friend Ashley ask, "So how is married life these days?" The way she said it was weird, as if there was an underlying intention. That is when I listened to Nicole, and I swear it was like a punch in the gut. Nicole laughed, not a joyful laugh. No, a little dismissive scoff, and said, "Oh please, he is just my roommate now, just my roommate." I froze with my drink halfway raised. Who says that about their husband? And the way she said it was not a joke at all. It was as if she was stating an obvious truth that everyone knew. She even glanced at me, seeing that I was listening, but she could not care less. The worst part was her friend's reaction. They all laughed and nodded as if it was completely normal. Megan even said, "Anyway, do not all husbands just become glorified roommates?" And they laughed even harder, except for Emily, a new girl in the group. I had met her 2 or 3 times. She did not laugh and looked sorry. At least someone with a heart. I do not remember the rest of the dinner. My brain was stuck on that phrase my wife had said. I was eating and drinking on autopilot, just trying to process what had just happened. She did not even look at me when she said it. She did not check if I had heard. She did not care, as if I did not even matter in her life anymore. On the drive home, Nicole was talking about this and that, as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, I felt like my marriage had just exploded. I barely responded. Once home, she slumped on the couch, scrolling through Instagram as if she had not completely disrespected our relationship in front of her friends. I looked at her for a moment, waiting for her to say something, to acknowledge what she had said, to apologize, anything, but nothing. And then I understood. Maybe it was not a random remark. Maybe that is really how she sees me. Just a guy who lives there and pays the bills. Not her husband, not her partner, just a roommate. I could not keep it to myself. Am I really just your roommate now? She looked up, annoyed to be interrupted. What are you talking about? At dinner. You told your friends I was just your roommate. She rolled her eyes and went back to scrolling. Oh my God, it was a joke. Do not be so sensitive. We talk like that among ourselves. It did not sound like a joke. Well, it was, she replied sharply. You are overreacting. Can we not do this right now? I am tired. And that was it. No apology, no explanation, not the slightest consideration for how I felt. Just her making me out to be the problem. I did not want it to escalate. So I stepped back to think. But one thing was clear. Something was seriously wrong in our relationship, and I could not ignore it anymore. The next morning, I went through my usual routine on autopilot. Nicole was rushing around as usual, barely speaking to me, except to ask if I had seen her charger. Just another normal day for her. Driving to work, I kept replaying that moment at dinner over and over. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I had been working my tail off for years to build a life with this woman. I bought the house we live in. I pay the majority of the bills. I support her career by taking on more responsibilities at home. I am the one making all the effort in our relationship while she, goes out with her friends, works late, barely pays attention to me, and that is how she sees me. Just a guy living in the same house. By the time I got to work, my mind was made up. If Nicole wants a roommate instead of a husband, then that is exactly what she is going to get. I spent my lunch break opening a new bank account and transferring most of our money from the joint account into it. I left just enough to cover my half of the bills for the month, not a penny more. Before, I was paying about 80% of everything since I make more. But roommates split things half and half. When I got home that evening, I did not ask her how her day went. As usual, I did not tell her about mine either. I just said hi and went to the spare room where I have my gaming setup. Usually, I would wait for her to finish work and we would decide on dinner together. Not tonight. I ordered a pizza just for myself. When it arrived, I grabbed a few slices and went back to gaming. Nicole walked in, looking confused. You ordered a pizza? Where's mine? I shrugged without taking my eyes off the screen. Oh, I just ordered for myself. I figured you would get something if you were hungry. She stood there for a second, probably waiting for an explanation. Since I did not say anything, she just replied okay and walked out. A few minutes later, I heard her making something in the kitchen. That was the beginning of what I now call Operation Roommate. Over the next few weeks, I methodically changed the way I interacted with Nicole. I stopped texting her during the day. I stopped buying groceries for her. I stopped doing her laundry with mine. I stopped asking if she needed anything when I went to the store. I stopped telling her when I was going out, when I was coming back, or cooking for both of us. Basically, I stopped doing everything a husband does and started acting like we were just two people sharing a living space, roommates. At first, Nicole did not even seem to notice, or at least she did not say anything. She still went out a lot, worked late, and spent her time on her phone. But after 1 week, I saw a shift. One night, she came home, opened the fridge, and then turned to me, annoyed. There is barely anything in the fridge. Did you not go grocery shopping? I did not even look up from my computer. Yeah, I bought my stuff. I pointed to the left side of the fridge. That is your stuff and the rest of the groceries. I got what I needed. I figured you would get whatever you wanted for yourself. She let out a frustrated sigh. Since when do we buy our groceries separately? I finally looked up. I do not know. I am trying something different. Is that a problem? She stared at me for a moment, then muttered a whatever, and ordered herself a meal. The real drama started about 2 weeks into Operation Roommate. Nicole texted me during the day to say she was going to buy some expensive shoes she had wanted for a long time, and that her card had been declined. She immediately called me, furious. Why is there only $700 in our joint account? My half. What are you talking about, and where is the rest of our money? I opened my own account. It is my money from my paycheck. The joint account is now just for bills. A long silence. You moved our money without telling me? Seriously, Derek? Not our money. My money from my paycheck. You work too. You have your own money. Yeah, we used to share. But you do not seem very interested in sharing anything else. You cannot just change that without talking to me. I almost laughed. Right. And I thought we were husband and wife, not roommates. But clearly, things change. What are you talking about? She sounded genuinely lost. Nothing. Look, I put your half of the bills into the joint account. You need to pay that before the end of the month. The rest of your money is yours. Mine is mine. She tried to argue back, but I said I had a meeting and hung up. That evening, Nicole came home fuming. She walked into the living room, arms crossed. We need to talk about what is going on with you. I muted the TV. What? Do not play dumb. The money, the groceries, your behavior. What is your problem? I shrugged. No problem. I am just making a few changes. Without talking to me. That is not how a marriage works. This was my moment. I looked her dead in the eye. Oh, really? We are in a marriage? That is weird because I clearly heard you tell your friends that I was just your roommate. I am just making sure I live up to the title. Her face went through 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. That was just a joke. I did not mean anything by it. It did not sound like a joke. And your friends did not seem to think it was one either. It sounded pretty serious. It was girl talk. You are being too sensitive. Maybe, or maybe I finally see things clearly. You have been treating me like a roommate for months. You barely talk to me. You are always on your phone. You go out all the time without me. I am just doing the same. Nicole's eyes narrowed. So what is this? Revenge? Really mature. No, just an adaptation to our actual relationship. Roommates do not share their finances, do not grocery shop for each other, do not do each other's laundry, do not text each other all day. They live separate lives under the same roof. Is that what we are doing? No. She looked at me, mouth slightly open, unable to answer. Then she threw her hands up and left the room, muttering that I was being ridiculous. But I noticed something in the following days. Nicole started making an effort. She would text me. She suggested we order food together. She asked me how my day went. Too little, too late in my opinion, but noticeable. What she did not know was that Operation Roommate was only just beginning, and I was about to kick it into high gear. About 3 weeks after all this started, something unexpected happened. I was getting a coffee before work at a spot near my office when someone called my name. I turn around and see Emily, Nicole's friend who had not laughed. Derek, right? She said, walking up. Nicole's husband. I nodded. Yeah. Hi, Emily. She smiled, surprised I remembered her name. Good memory. I did not know you came here. Every morning, I replied. Their coffee is better than the office's. There was a slightly awkward silence. I could tell she wanted to say something, but was hesitating. Finally, she said, Look, I have been wanting to reach out to you. That dinner a few weeks ago, what Nicole said, it was not cool. I just wanted you to know that not everyone thought it was funny. I was almost shocked that someone was finally acknowledging that moment. Thank you, I appreciate it. Are you two doing okay? I mean, it is none of my business. I shrugged. We were trying to figure things out. There was no way I was going to dump my marriage problems on someone I barely knew, even if she seemed nice. Emily nodded. I hope it works out. For what it is worth, I think you seem like a gentleman. That made me smile for the first time in weeks. Thanks, Emily. We talked for about 15 minutes. I learned that she was a physical therapist, that she had moved to the city 6 months prior, and that she knew Nicole's group through a mutual friend. She was easygoing, and it felt good to finally have a conversation where someone was genuinely interested in what I had to say. Before leaving, she hesitated and then said, I know this might seem weird, but if you ever need to talk, here is my number. She scribbled it on a napkin and handed it to me. I found it a bit strange, as if we were crossing a boundary. I did not know what her intentions were, but honestly, I thought it might actually help me. And besides, she just seemed nice. Thanks, I said, putting the napkin in my pocket. I might just take you up on that. Yeah. 2 days later, I had a particularly frustrating day. Nicole was becoming more and more annoying with this whole roommate thing, complaining that she had to contribute more to the bills and that I was acting like a child. Then I discovered that someone had used our joint credit card, which I thought I had canceled, to buy a $500 handbag. I will let you guess who. I thought, why not give it a try? I texted her, This is Derek. Does your offer to talk still stand? She replied almost immediately. Absolutely. Are you okay? We met up for coffee after work. I had not planned to spill everything, but looking at her warm, big eyes, it all just came out. The roommate remark. Nicole's distance for months. My operation roommate. Everything. Emily just listened without judging, occasionally asking a question. When I was done, she sighed. I do not know Nicole super well, but in the group, when you are not around, she talks about you differently. My stomach tied in knots. What do you mean? Emily looked uncomfortable. She complains a lot. She says you are boring, that she feels trapped. Wow. I had nothing left to say. I am sorry, I should not have said that. No, thank you. I really appreciate the honesty. Before we parted ways, she placed her hand on my arm. Derek, you deserve someone who is proud to be with you, not someone who treats you like a burden. That hit me hard because it was true. That was the first time I truly saw Emily. Not just as Nicole's friend, not just as someone in the background, but as someone who saw me, who had noticed the cracks I did not even want to admit. We started texting after that. Simple things, our day, little frustrations, jokes, but it was different. For the first time in a long time, I was not just talking to fill the silence. Someone actually wanted to hear what I had to say. No sighing, no eye rolling, just a genuine conversation with someone who cared about me. And I had not realized how much I missed that. Nicole, of course, noticed nothing. Too busy in her own world, always going out several nights a week, coming home late with a scent of cologne that was definitely not mine. I was not stupid. I knew she had crossed a serious line. But I needed proof before moving on to the next step. Let me clarify one thing. I am not the suspicious type. Really, I was cheated on in college, and I swore to myself I would never again become that paranoid guy who digs through phones. But there is a difference between being paranoid and connecting obvious dots. Nicole ticked all the boxes. Regularly going out late, being secretive with her phone. New work friends out of nowhere, getting all dolled up for so-called meetings, and that cologne scent. How? I needed to be sure. First, I tried the direct approach. So, who is this new coworker you are hanging out with all the time? I asked one morning, looking relaxed. Nicole barely looked up from her phone. What? Oh, just some people from the marketing team. Nothing interesting. It seems like you were spending a lot of time with them lately. She rolled her eyes. What? Are you monitoring my schedule now? I thought we were just roommates. She even made air quotes with her fingers. Just making conversation, I said as I walked away. Obviously, the direct approach was not going to go anywhere. So, I made a decision. Some might judge me, whatever. I bought an AirTag. If you do not know, it is a small Apple tracker to find keys or luggage. But hey, we all know it can be used for other things. I waited for a morning when Nicole was still asleep. Her keys were on the counter. I took the opportunity to slip the AirTag into a small compartment in her car's center console, where she keeps spare change and receipts. Then I put the keys back. 30 seconds tops. That very day, Nicole texted me saying she was working late and that I should not wait up for her. Perfect for testing my device. At 6 in the evening, I opened the tracking app. Her AirTag was moving. I watched it in real time, heading not toward her downtown office, but to a fancy apartment complex on the north side of the city. Her car stopped there at 6:45 in the evening. My heart was pounding like a hammer. A part of me was hoping for an innocent explanation. But deep down, I knew. For the next 3 days, I kept tracking. Tuesday, she tells me she is dining with coworkers. Her AirTag, same apartment from 7 in the evening to 11 at night. Thursday, client meeting, supposedly. AirTag, same address, from 6:30 in the evening to almost midnight. I was texting Emily through all this, without telling her exactly what I was doing, just venting about Nicole's obvious lies. Emily was supportive but cautious. Are you sure you really want to know? She texted me. Sometimes finding out the truth just makes things more painful. I replied, I have to know. I am sick of being played for a fool. I then decided to move to the final step. The following Tuesday, when Nicole told me she had another late meeting, I told her I was grabbing a drink with some coworkers and would not be home until late. A lie, obviously. Instead, I parked one street over from the apartment building and waited. At 6:30 in the evening, Nicole's car pulled up right on schedule. I watched her park, check her makeup in the rearview mirror, then get out and walk toward one of the buildings. She punched a code into the entry keypad and went inside. I stayed in my car for 15 minutes, thinking about what I was going to do. A part of me wanted to confront the situation right then, but what was the point? More drama? No thanks. I simply took pictures of her car in the parking lot and the building she had walked into. Then I took a deep breath and went home. I now had all the proof I needed. My wife had been unfaithful. The real question was, what was I going to do? On the drive back, I called Emily. When she picked up, I simply said, "You were right about everything." "Oh, Derek," she said softly. "I am so sorry. What are you going to do?" "I do not know yet, but I am done being just her roommate." That night, I slept in the guest bedroom. Nicole did not come home until after midnight. She did not even notice I was not in our bed. The next day, I called in sick to work. It was impossible to focus on spreadsheets while my marriage was falling apart. I spent the morning looking for divorce lawyers and found a highly rated one who could see me that very afternoon. I told him everything. The roommate remark, the unfaithfulness, the house, our finances. So what should I expect? I asked him. He leaned back in his chair. Well, you are in a very good position, legally speaking. The house is in your name and you had it before the marriage, so it is protected as separate property. No kids, that simplifies everything. Our state takes fault into consideration in some cases, so her unfaithfulness can work in your favor. The real question is how contentious you want this to be. I thought about it. I do not want any drama. I just want out of this marriage. Reasonable man, he said with a smile. Those who want revenge pay me a whole lot more. All right, let us draft the paperwork. In the meantime, document everything, her absences, the proof of the situation, the finances, and do not tell her anything until we are ready. I paid the retainer and left with a strange feeling, like I was finally taking back control. At home, I saw a text from Emily asking how I was doing. I asked her out for coffee, and she accepted. We met at a quiet little coffee shop in a neighboring town, far from anyone Nicole knew. When she saw me, she looked worried. You look exhausted, she said. Are you sleeping at all? I stirred my coffee without drinking it. I saw a divorce lawyer today. Her eyes widened. Wow, that was fast. Once I knew for sure she had been unfaithful, it was no longer a difficult decision. Our marriage has been dead for months. She nodded. I understand, but it is still a huge step. Emily placed her hand on mine. A simple gesture, but more genuine than anything Nicole had offered me in a long time. And now? She asked. The lawyer is preparing the papers. I am gathering the evidence. Then, I am having her served with the documents and telling her to move out. She is not going to like that. Too bad. She should have thought of that before she crossed that line. We talked for almost 2 hours. Not just about the divorce, but about everything. Our jobs, our families, our favorite movies, our travels. It was so easy to talk with Emily. No judgment, just two people truly listening to each other. When we said goodbye, she hugged me. You are going to get through this, Derek. You are going to be even better than okay. For the first time in a long time, I believed it. Over the following days, I continued gathering evidence. Screenshots of bank statements showing I paid for everything. Statements showing restaurants I had never been to. Hotel bills on nights she was supposedly out with friends. The complete history of the AirTag tracking. I put it all into a folder for Stephen, the lawyer. Meanwhile, Nicole did not notice a thing. Always absent, always distant. She went out all weekend without even pretending to care about me. That audacity only strengthened my resolve. On her end, Emily and I were texting every day. Nothing inappropriate. I did not plan on becoming unfaithful myself, but we were clearly getting closer and closer. She told me about her past relationships, her complicated family. I told her things I had not told anyone in years. She made me laugh during a time when I thought I had forgotten how. A week after my meeting with the divorce lawyer, the papers were ready. He advised me to have Nicole served by surprise, preferably in the presence of a witness. You need someone who can attest to what happened, especially if she gets emotional, he explained to me. Without thinking, I asked Emily to be my witness. She agreed immediately. I will be there, whatever you need. I set the date for Friday evening when I knew Nicole would be home. It was time to put an end to this charade. Friday arrived faster than expected. I spent the morning reviewing the plan with the lawyer. He handed me the manila envelope containing the papers, which felt strangely light for something so heavy. Emily texted me all day. You can do this. Stay strong, I will be there. That really helped me. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop near my house at 6 in the evening. Nicole usually got home around 7 in the evening on Fridays, unless she went straight to the other place. At 6:25 in the evening, we headed to my house. Emily's car surprised me. A luxury SUV that must have cost a fortune. We walked in, and for a second, I hesitated. It felt weird having Emily here in what was our space, but it was not our space anymore, and Emily was not really Nicole's friend anymore. I gave her a quick little tour, pointing out random things just to break the silence. She smiled, that little knowing smile she had. You do not need to give me the real estate agent tour, Derek. I am just here for moral support, Emily said. I laughed nervously, rubbing the back of my neck. Yeah, it is just that I am not really used to someone actually wanting to be here. She tilted her head as if reading between the lines. Then, stopping in the living room, she suddenly stepped closer and adjusted my shirt collar, smoothing it out with a gentle, natural gesture. I froze, but the way she did it, familiar, simple, almost intimate, made my stomach tighten. It had been so long since I had been touched with care rather than out of duty. There you go, she murmured, her fingers lingering a fraction of a second too long before she stepped back. Are you ready? I swallowed hard, trying to ignore the heat rising in my neck. Thanks. She simply smiled and slumped onto the couch as if she had always belonged there. Whenever you are ready. And just like that, I started to see Emily differently. Around 7:10 in the evening, I heard Nicole's car in the driveway. Emily and I were sitting in the living room. The divorce papers were waiting conspicuously on the coffee table. Everything was in place. The front door opened and Nicole walked in, completely oblivious as always. She took a few steps and stopped dead in her tracks when she saw us. Her gaze darted back and forth between Emily and me. What is going on? Why is she here? She asked, already defensive. I stood up. We need to talk, Nicole. Her expression darkened as she stared at Emily again. And why is she here for that? This is our house. She is here as a witness, I said, picking up the envelope, letting her feel the gravity of it before handing it to her. Nicole crossed her arms. A witness for what? I handed her the papers. I am filing for divorce. The shock on her face was priceless. It looked like her brain was rebooting on a loop. Divorce? She repeated in disbelief. Then, clinging to the first excuse that came to mind, she scoffed. Are you serious? Because of your little roommate tantrum? I remained impassive. No, because you have been unfaithful. And have been for months. She let out a dry, nervous laugh. That is ridiculous. I am not being unfaithful. I cut her off sharply. I know about the guy at the apartment complex. I know how often you go there. Nicole's face lost all its color. You followed me. What is your problem, Derek? I shook my head, amused by how fast she was trying to flip the script. No need to follow you. I tapped my phone. I have weeks of proof. Every late night, every work event, every girl's night out, always at the exact same place. Her eyes darted to Emily, then back to me. Her shock turning into fury. You stalked me. You are completely insane. And you brought her here for this? She pointed a finger at Emily, as if she were on fire. She has been waiting for this since the very first day she met you. Emily did not flinch. She did not need to. I was no longer letting Nicole control the narrative. Emily has nothing to do with this, I said calmly. This is about your choices. And the fact that you got caught. Nicole instantly changed strategy. Okay, I messed up. People make mistakes, Derek. That does not mean we throw everything away. Her voice became soft. Her eyes searched mine. We can fix this. Therapy, a fresh start. I will stop seeing him. Let us just talk about it. Alone. She shot a death glare at Emily. That was when I twisted the knife. I leaned back, putting on the empty expression she had given me so many times before. Why are you getting so upset anyway? I asked sarcastically. I am just your roommate. Is that not what you wanted? No. She huffed in exasperation. That dinner, are you still mad about that, Derek? It was a joke. I nodded as if everything was becoming clear. Ah yes, a very funny joke. Then I tilted my head. Wait, so do you regularly joke about replacing your husband with another guy? Just asking. Her jaw clenched, but I was not finished. You know what? I continued. You were right. We are just roommates. I pointed to the door. And since I pay the majority of the mortgage, I am going to need you to pack your bags and get out of my house. That was when she became very emotional. There were tears, raised voices, pleas, and anger, the whole difficult scene. Where am I supposed to go? She cried. I do not know. To the other person's place? You spend enough time there. That made things even more heated. Finally, she walked out, slamming the door so hard that a picture frame fell. Emily helped me pick it up. That went exactly as planned, I joked. She smiled softly. You stood your ground well. You held firm. The next day, Nicole came back with her friend Courtney, convinced she could just walk back in like nothing happened. I had changed the locks. They were outside raising their voices and calling me. I did not answer. I just texted her saying she could get her things on Saturday when my brother was there. Saturday was tense. My brother Kyle arrived early, thankfully, because Nicole came back with Courtney and her dad. He probably thought he could intimidate me. Her dad started raising his voice at me, saying I had no right to ask his daughter to leave. I looked at him calmly. Actually, yes, I do have every right. The house is in my name. I bought it before the wedding, and your daughter was unfaithful. But if you want to argue about it in front of a judge, with all the evidence made public, I am all for it. Silence. He calmed down immediately. Nicole glared at me while packing her things. She tried to play the crying card again when her dad's back was turned. I made a mistake. I want to fix things. I walked away without answering. The divorce after that was strangely simple. She did not contest anything after her lawyers saw my evidence. Finalized in 4 months, which is apparently fast. The best part? I found out that her boyfriend dumped her 2 weeks after she moved in with him. Being the side piece was fine with him. Being the actual partner? Not at all. So she moved back in with her parents at 28. Huge slap in the face to her ego. As for Emily and me, it is complicated but in a good way. We grew closer. We started officially dating 1 month after Nicole moved out, once I felt ready. And wow, Emily is incredible, caring, supportive, smart. We click in a way that Nicole and I never did. We are taking our time. No rushing. She sleeps over sometimes, but we do not live together. She is helping me redecorate. Nicole had tastes that were, let us say, a bit much. One evening, Emily and I were having dinner at a downtown restaurant when someone walked in. Nicole with a new guy. She saw us instantly and walked right over to us. A fake smile plastered on her face. Well, this is cozy. You did not take long to move on, did you? Before I could say a word, Emily looked up and replied calmly. He is not just my roommate, Nicole, he is my everything. Nicole's look was legendary. She stood there frozen while her date tried to steer her away from our table. After she left, I was still smiling. Too much? Emily asked. No, I said, taking her hand. Perfect. And that is where I am today. Divorce finalized. The house is mine. I am with someone who truly cares about me. Life is not perfect. A divorce is expensive and exhausting, regardless of the reasons, but I am happier than I have been in years. Sometimes I think back to that dinner where Nicole called me just a roommate. At the time, it felt like the worst moment of my life. Now, I realize it was actually the best. It opened my eyes. It forced me to change my life. It is crazy how things sometimes end up working out in our favor. Comment. I've been thinking about this story a lot since I shared it with you. I believe the most powerful thing we can do is respect ourselves enough to recognize when we're being taken for granted. Setting healthy boundaries is not about being cold. It's about protecting your peace and self-worth. When a relationship stops being kind and respectful, it's okay to choose yourself and step back. Taking responsibility for your own happiness is one of the bravest decisions you can make. Healing begins the moment you stop accepting less than you deserve. You deserve someone who truly values you, not just someone who shares the same space with you. Choosing peace over prolonged pain is a sign of strength, not weakness. I hope this story encourages you to reflect on your own life and relationships. What matters most is that you treat yourself with the kindness and respect you give to others. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.